We welcome you. Go to QUXNow.com. Your future awaits.
For special discounts and promotions, always be sure to use promo code Pete at checkout.
This is John Ritzheimer, and you are listening to The Pete Santilli Show.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, we're back. And as I was telling our viewing audience on the live stream, that my next guest is he's retired 21 years in the Army, U.S. Army Special Forces veteran. He's a certified Lean Six Sigma black belt, and now advocates for the MMTLP shareholder community. And as I've told everybody, I'm not letting this one go, especially because my fellow veterans have been so impacted in the millions and millions of dollars. And I said, we got to bring public awareness to this story. He was born and raised in Hawaii. He served 21 years in the Army, primarily in Special Forces, retiring in 2006 as a first sergeant in recruiting. He holds multiple degrees, an MBA, business administration and project management, a BA in human resources management, a BS in business administration and marketing, and a certified Six Sigma black belt. After military service, he worked as a government contractor and then as a senior federal civilian leader, driving process improvements, data-driven decision-making, and multi-million-dollar efficiencies across the U.S. Air Force Reserve, the Department of Veterans Affairs, and Army commands. His work focused on Lean Six Sigma, strategic alignment, enterprise performance, policy development, and large-scale systems redesign, earning numerous awards and best practices recognition. Today, Christopher applies his expertise in data organization, process optimization, strategic foundation building to help resolve, guess what, the MMTLP crisis. They FA'd and they're about to FO. Okay, we'll say that. Right? And I bring up your credentials here. I thought it was important because, I mean, come on. You want to mess with, you just think you're messing with a bunch of okie dokes. I just had a conversation with one of your colleagues, huge advocate for bringing public awareness to MMTLP, and himself. He stated it best. It's not like you guys are, looking to become rich and famous through this. You're not looking to, sue and get a lot of money. You're not even asking for your money back. You want some resolution here because some wrong has been done and nobody's taken corrective action. That's my spiel from what I understand. Is that pretty accurate?
Yes, that's pretty spot on there, Pete. I mean, the biggest thing that we look at is we want the transparency. Mm-hmm. We want to see, what happened. And that's the biggest thing when you think about it, with everything that's transpired with this starting since the halt on December 9th of 2022, and you account for the days that has elapsed, right? And there is just so much to unpack here. But the problem being is the constant, obfuscation, the stonewalling, the constant, diversions that are created at every level within our government. So, and as you can relate, for ourselves being in the military, as per se, right? When we're given an order, we execute, right? We follow the orders and we do what we do. We've got questions, we can ask questions and get a response.
Right.
So in this case, we've asked the questions, we filed the complaints, we followed the procedures outlined by all of us. So now, as a military person, you being the Marine Corps, me being the Army, we have things in place. When we don't get answers, we follow through. And for the Marines, we're talking about, I'm calling mass. I'm not getting my answers. Right? Yeah. So I want to know, where do we need to go? What can we do? No one's listening.
No, and in most cases, this legalized theft almost. We'll say that it's legalized. Look at nobody knows how to. They can't even bring any accountability. The SEC director. I mean, they're all frozen in place. But can you imagine that most individual traders and shareholders are just standing there, left holding the bag? What I love about MMTLP, and especially I would say, was it driven that this advocacy group come together because there were a whole bunch of veterans that were impacted, and they said, "Oh no, not just no, but hell no." What drove the camaraderie and the group cohesion?
Well, from its initial inception, it was because the lack of information. Mm-hmm. That's what it boiled down to. Because when the halt was initiated on that specific day, everyone was starting to ask questions. But you also need to understand that the days leading up to that specific day, as retail investors, we have to remind ourselves, when we invest into the stock market, we are just buying a stock, right? We all do this. As a standard, depending on your demographics, 50 to 60% of Americans buy stock in one fashion or another. Either it's through an employee benefit, you got a 401k, Roth IRA, or you're an active investor. I personally have invested since 2008, active trading. So I do not expect a lot of things to go out of the ordinary, because I kind of, watch what I'm buying and trading. So in this case, as you had on Friday with Randy, we bought a stock that was in the exploration of oil and gas. Okay, this is way before the reverse merger happened. So we bought a stock which was Torch, and I also had shares in other oil companies, Exxon, Mara as well, Marathon and such. And it was just another solid investment, the way we look at it.
Yes.
But again, going forward, most people are invested to the stock market, and you need to understand that. The problem is a lot of individuals do not understand the mechanics with the stock market, and that's where you can get caught short, right? As far as losing what you have as far as investment.
All right, I'm going to be a little bit snotty, okay? And some of it intended to apply a little bit of humor to, the ridiculousness of inaction on resolving the MMTLP situation, because of the largest financial wrongdoing in the history of the United States, period. I mean, it's a massive, massive problem. So it's not small. Counterfeiting shares and destroying the stock market, right? It's not a good thing. It's going to require some action. So it's up to we, the people. Now, let's compare that. I mean, if your mom was missing and you were on NBC, and you were a little bit higher profile, you'd get the full force of the government on you. I mean, I'm sorry to say it. I don't want bad things to happen to anyone's mom. A lot of moms are impacted. A lot of moms are impacted in MMTLP, of course, in a very, very negative way. But sir, what do we need to do to get the attention of the government to apply the same full force to resolve these issues with MMTLP? Because the SEC director is not doing. This is the Trump administration. Maybe President Trump's not aware. The appropriate people aren't aware. What's the bottleneck right now, and what do we the people need to do to get our mom, paid a ransom?
So I like the analogy you used, because apparently you must have read a post that put out like two of them.
I didn't, in fact, but it's the perfect analogy, right?
It is a spot on analogy, because when you think about it, okay, and I'm gonna track back slightly so that way I can develop an understanding of where we fell into this mess. Okay.
By the way, we want to be professional about this. We don't need to threaten anybody, or we just want some action because of the magnitude of the situation, right?
Correct.
Tens of millions of dollars, an untold amount of money needs to be found, right?
Yeah, and that's just what you said. That's just the veteran side for what we have surmised from the small population sample that we got. Now, just to add a little context, okay, we have, and it was stated last week, 65,000 as the last known number. And this is over a year prior to us going out into the spin out of a private company. The problem you have is because of the short positions that were not closed, we have an undeterminable amount of how many counterfeit positions are currently within the market itself. So we don't even know this number. Now, from the initial data collection that was done in early 2023 by a group of individuals within the community, we had accounted that there is anywhere from, and I believe Randy had alluded to this too, 600,000 to over 1 billion shares counterfeit. Okay, so let me stress this again. Whenever there's counterfeit positions, they have to be closed out by their own rules at FINRA and the SEC prior to a company going private. The problem you had was because of the steps that were done, it threw everything out of whack. And when I say out of whack, procedures, policies, and especially their own specific rules were not followed. Okay, were not followed through. So since those days, what has happened, right, is you had a community that formed, right, started to gel. No one knew what was going on. Information was requested by, through the regulators being FINRA, also the SEC. Hey, what's going on? The numerous calls to every single financial brokerage, right, bank, any accounts that you had, everyone contacted these individuals. We have the receipts. Yeah. We have copies of those communications. So what's happened since then was no one knew specifically until, I would say, March of April timeframe, where we started to gel and the community started to share some information, but there was no central repository. Now, when you jump forward, okay, and you talk about what can we do, the biggest disservice that we've had is that no matter what agency we've gone through, and I'm going to just go right down the cuff, started with FINRA, then we went to the SEC. Right. SEC didn't do nothing. Then we went to the SEC OIG, nothing. FBI, DOJ, okay?
By the way, so can I be cynical about the OIGs? It's like the mafia's internal investigation department. They will find no wrongdoing, especially if there's, financial liability and culpability. I mean, they're going to protect the government, aren't they? Correct. It's almost a huge conflict of interest. But anyways, sorry to interrupt your flow.
No, and you're perfectly correct. So we later learned, right, where it became apparent. Okay, and for myself, I'm going to say that I personally, because of my job, was busy working at the time. But when I started to kind of understand what was happening with the MMTLP, as veterans, we support each other. So we had 3 collective units as far as within the veterans group. And anytime that something was asked, as a veteran, we listen to what's being asked, we follow through, salute the flag, and we execute. So everything that was asked of us, we put together and worked on whatever initiatives came out through the veterans aspect to help with MMTLP. Now, with that being said, for myself and my wife, 1,000 days went by, okay, 1,000 days. And on September 1st of 2025, I had asked her, I said, look, this is not working. And by then I was retiring from the government. I was looking at leaving it. And my decision with her was, why don't I create a separate database to start collecting a number of data sets as well as evidence, information, and it's going to become a new repository for the community.
Yes.
Now, since then, we have created many initiatives across the spectrum, and at the same time, started to really analyze what is happening with the government. So, as an example, and I'm just going to hold up this piece of paper, and I know you have access to this. This is one of them, okay? This is the most recent FOIA numbers from the SEC itself. So as far as I am a data guy. I'm a geek, right? So what I look at is, all right, government, this is what you're reporting. This is what you're showing me based on your own dynamics, your own information as to what a FOIA request submission is from the requested date to its inception or closure of requested information. So here's some stats. So since December of 2022, okay, the SEC has processed over 35,000 individual FOIA requests, financial industry wide. Okay. Now, MMTLP related FOIAs out of that mix account for 1,887 requests, which is 5.3% of all requests for FOIAs submitted to the SEC. Now, why is it, and here's the first question, right, that from the SEC, financial industry wide, they release either in full or granted in full or denied in part these FOIA requests, right, at 11.53%. That's what they give back. That's the answers you get, okay? Why is it with MMTLP, we only have 0.04%, okay, a 0.04%, or in this words, out of 1,887 FOIAs, 15 requests that have been either granted in full or denied in part. That's the first question, right? So by knowing the metrics and then later learning as a fact that we are being, pretty much closed off to any information for Freedom of Information, okay, and Freedom of Information Act requests. So why do we have, FOIAs for the government? What are they for? Right? Requesting of information.
For information, right. They're required to disclose it by law. Right.
Right. Correct. So that's the first fact. And then because of the fact of how I am, and I'm going to tell you, every request that is responded to, I have it. The community uploads it into the database. I can look and tell you what they said, what's happening with those individual requests. And the latest thing that I have to laugh at is all of a sudden, since March of 2025, we created something called bundling, the merging and aggregation of FOIA requests. So since this time frame, right, we're looking at 44.6% of all requests from this time frame is being merged and bundled. Okay, I'm talking that I've seen the last one that came out just a couple of days ago, 133 FOIAs merged into one active FOIA. Just one.
Oh.
So when you look at these requests, okay, they have a statutory obligation where they have to respond to you within 20 business days. They've not met that. They've automatically started to request a 10-day extension for all FOIAs, right, to make it 30 business days. And if you don't get a response, they want you to reach back and let them know. So we also track processing times, right? How long does it take them to process these things? And everywhere across the board, they fail, period. They fail for what they're obligated to do for Americans and anyone that requests a Freedom of Information Act request. So the bundling has increased. The numbers are from their information, as well as the responses that they have provided to members within this community. And this is just one thing, just one.
Here's this really ticked me off when I read this. All right, FINRA. All right, FINRA seems to be talking back at the people that should dare ask questions. And here's one: can FINRA perform an audit of NextBridge MMTLP's share count? FINRA has received questions concerning conducting a share count audit of NextBridge. What is not clear is what is meant by a share count audit. What the heck kind of response is that? We want to, I mean, there were counterfeit shares. You do an audit and you say, okay, where are all these extra, there was short selling, there's all kinds of crazy stuff. And they're like, we don't understand what you mean by doing an audit or a verification of your allegations about, are they aware, first of all, that there were counterfeit shares? And you could only be made aware of that technically, legally, and factually by conducting an audit, correct?
So that document you just showed me there, is that part of the FINRA FAQ?
Yeah, FINRA. FINRA, FAQ. It's on their website. They're talking back at you guys you guys are asking for an audit. We don't understand what you mean by that.
Yeah, that's been debunked, Pete. That the whole FAQ was a charade. That's the first time FINRA has ever come out and put out any type of frequently asked questions on any ticker. And that entire document has been debunked by the community twice. Okay, so we can share more information with you on that aspect. But to go back to what they're saying, right? The communications that they've shared between FINRA as well, and which is their Office of General Counsel, their lawyers. I believe Kobe is the name that we're talking about. But between the lawyers and the company, NextBridge Hydrocarbons, it's already been debunked because FINRA reported on one of their last transmissions of or letters that 2.65 million shares were short. Okay, going into after the spin out, 2.65 million, and the response from the company was, well, you're way off because we have a request for ransom funds, really, is where it came from, that they want to buy 10 million shares alone themselves because that's how many they're short. And we're not even talking the rest of the 105, 109 other broker dealers that were on this list. I had learned at an earlier time frame that for the government employees and military, right? TSP, Thrift Savings Plan. Okay. This was actually a NASDAQ listing, which I know you're aware of from last week from Randy.
Right.
Okay. And they are located in the TSP. So you have MMTLP shares that are listed within, the Thrift Savings Plan for government employees and military, right? And now, because of everything that's transpired, right, they're worthless. They have no value, but the obligations are still remaining, right? Because you still have this. And the other part that they don't explain, which we've already looked at, 60% roughly of all these shares are hidden within IRAs and 401ks, retirement accounts. So because it was a NASDAQ listing, they brought it up on the OTC against the company's wishes in October of 21. Okay. All these problems exist. Okay. It is a massive issue. And I know you heard the phrase, we don't know how to address this problem or how to fix it.
Yeah, the SEC said that, right?
Yeah, that was one of the commissioners, right, that mentioned that in front of other community members, which there are recordings to that effect that she stated that. Audio recordings made on that day. So, like I said, a lot of information and evidence has been compiled. The problem you got is we can only give you the information. Now, you talk about, actions, right? Congress. There's been a lot of times that we've had boots on the ground, walking the halls in Congress. I was just there last month with the SEC, the SEC presser that we had with Ann Vandersteel and company. And then we was in the Capitol afterwards. But for example, during the time frame from 23 through as late as December of 25, there are over 20 plus congressional letters signed by 132 signatories. Now, that website that I had gave Sean access to, which hopefully you can access, they're all listed on there. Okay, the dashboard that I created has everything built for media, members of Congress, and the staffers.
Is that the MMTLPresources.com?
No, that is, to me, that's incomplete. So it's the MMTLP informational dashboard that I gave Sean access to, and he said he was in there last week.
Okay. All right. Fantastic. And I'm going to dig into that. Well, while I do that, it should be in your profile here. I want to share that. I want to access it. But I want to ask you something.
Sure.
Because we know technology exists that will allow us, and you know that AI is pretty powerful. The Doge team, Elon Musk, is Elon Musk aware that this is going on? Because, he could whip up his Doge dolphins, and I mean that affectionately, Doge dolphins, to dig into this. Scott Bessent with the Treasury, right? Is he over SEC?
He is over SEC.
Over SEC. Bessent, Doge, Elon Musk, in a matter of a couple days, they could dig into this thing and figure out exactly where the culpability is, right?
It's very simple.
It's not difficult.
We have freely given up a lot of this information. Freely. That was my whole intent. After 1,000 days, I built this dashboard to collect all empirical and evidence that could be pulled in, right? So we have built a timeline that spans the 3+ years. We've built in where you have all filings, court documents, dockets, every single thing you can think of is built into this dashboard. You got 20+ court filings in here, right? And they're all federal cases, okay? The majority of them have been dismissed, went to appeals, dropped, dismissed, whatever you want to call it. They're all been shut down. Because the problem you have is that when you deal with FINRA, FINRA has been granted immunity, right? Sometimes want to say sovereign immunity, whatever. They've been granted immunity. So you cannot, and in one of the court filings, they even stated, I could be guilty of what you're saying, but it doesn't matter. I have immunity. You cannot get me, right? So, and then what happens is you got FINRA with its immunity, and the SEC, right, is part of that problem because they're supposed to provide oversight over FINRA, which in everything that we have seen in its accounting with Gensler first. Now, we don't know what's going on with this new administration, but it is not very transparent, and it's not happening during our watch, what we're seeing. So,
the MMTLP informational dashboard is
correct.
What I'm pulling up right now, and I think it's asking me to log in. But I'm gonna dig into this. It's asking me to sign in. Tell us a bit about yourself. Wow.
I don't know about that,
right.
But
yeah, that's what it's asking us. Okay, so in this this database that you've built, the portal. Okay, tell me if I have the right information here. I'm going to put it on the screen. Am I on the right page?
Nope, that's not even it. I don't know what he gave you.
Well, yeah, I just clicked through on the link here, the informational dashboard.
No, that's that. Yeah, that was just a sign thing. So there you go.
Okay. All right, there you go. All right.
Yeah,
fantastic.
Sean was in it on Friday, so.
Yeah. So anyways, I'm going to have access to this thing. But listen, this is what we need to do. We need to ask the powers that be to take immediate, swift, and decisive action. We don't have the top cop, whoever that is, that has oversight on. This is criminality, sir. Right? How much would you estimate has been criminally taken from investors above and beyond the veterans?
We really can't answer that question because we don't even know how many investors there are. That's your problem. So without understanding, one, the number, you have a denominator and numerator, right? Without knowing those numbers, we cannot even, speculate or guess what that number may be. So I just granted your access, by the way.
Okay.
But with that being said, once you know how many investors there are, then you need to know how many shares exist, right? And we're talking about not only the original shares of 165.4 million shares during the time of the U3 halt, but we're also talking about how many obligations and derivatives exist beyond that was sold not only within the United States, but also overseas. Mm-hmm. Because everything's about what's in the plumbing, and we don't know that. Where did they put them? How did they build them? Everything is in there. So what you got right there in front of you on the screen is, of course, the informational dashboard, all those
congressional letters, right?
Yep. Congressional letters, so forth. Everything is hyperlinked. Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Now, you watched my interview with Randy, right? I said I'm not going to let this go. On top of what we covered, you probably said, "Oh, this should have been mentioned," or "This should have been mentioned." So I'm going to tie the two interviews together. I know you're getting some good media coverage, right? That's great. We need to bring public awareness, and I want to ask, of course, all of our viewers, our listeners, to help take action on this, because Nothing is getting done. And I think, I mean, does Scott Bessent even know about MMTLP? Have you verified that? Or Elon Musk or the Doge team? And I know you guys are, hesitant to say, well, we're not saying anything, but we've got contacts. I say, excuse my Marine Corps presentation here. I say that Congress is where the truth goes to die. Okay. And that's the truth, based on my experience. The halls of Congress, you get into committee, that's when you know you're dead, because they're going to bring resolution, bring that gavel down and say, we find no wrongdoing. But what did we miss when Randy and I were together that you would want to supplement?
Well, I mean, the thing about it is that when you understand the complexity, okay, this thing is so complex. It's like, I mean, it reminds me of operations that I used to do, right? It's not no easy go in, snatch and grab. There is so many intricacies or things that we put together to make it where you have to guess or you don't even know what to expect, right?
Target packaging, right? You got financial data, you got communications via cell phone, all that stuff has to come together perfectly. And then when you go on target, you hope they're going to be there, right?
I mean, just to go by just the timeline, Pete, right? So you have to understand a lot of things we did not know until later through those 15 FOIAs that we did get, right? Mm-hmm. So we learned later, back in, say, like, for example, the first FOIA we got back was, we called the Howard FOIA, right? Which told us, and this is in March 30th is when we got it back. March 30th, 2023. That FOIA identified, right, when they first, right, the SEC and FINRA knew there was a problem with the spin out of NextBridge Hydrocarbons and the history of everything was transpiring from the parent company to the spin out. So they knew this back in, if memory serves me correct, November 29th, 2023. Over a full year before the spin out was to be executed by the parent company. Okay. And during that time frame, right, nothing was done according to the records that we saw. And then all of a sudden on December 5th, everything hit, basically everything hit the fraud radar team or the fraud team's radar screens across SEC and FINRA, and it became a problem. Okay. So
now SEC and FINRA, for the audience, by the way, they're the watchdogs. Those are the regulatory bodies that are supposed to prevent this from taking place, when in fact their actions helped contributed to accelerating it. Did it not?
It did. Yes, they did. Because in the rules that are in place, for example, FINRA is the one that publishes the corporate actions. Now, in the respect to the corporate action or prospectus that was put out by the parent company, Metamaterials, right? That was filed in mid-July, like around July 15th, 16th of the month, right, of 22. They went through 4 iterations, 4 different amendments, till it was finally approved, I believe, on like November 18th of 22. Okay, it was approved by the SEC. So then it rolls through its processing with FINRA. Now at that time, understand that according now that we know, they knew that there was a problem with the spin out. They knew there was a problem with everything going to be hitting the fraud radar on December 5th. But yet they still published a corporate action, right? Which is the corporate action is where, hey guys, you have the right to now spin this out privately, sell the shares, close out your obligations, and we're done, right? The company goes private.
Chris.
What's that? Yes.
Stay with me. We're going to take a break. Come back on the other side. We'll hit it hard.
Gotcha.
Stay with me. All right, you guys, stay right there. We'll be back with Mr. Gruber right after this.
The University of Pennsylvania School of Veterinary Medicine confirms that pets with cancer live longer taking Coriolus versicolor. This is why we believe that every dog and cat needs Coriolis Versicolor to help support and boost their immune system. Our Forest Natural brand has developed the world's first pet treat with immune-boosting Coriolis Versicolor mushroom. We call them mush puppies. Coriolis Versicolor is the most sought-after, all-natural supplement for both humans and pets to help boost the immune system. There are over 400 studies worldwide on its effectiveness in humans, including Sloan Kettering Cancer Center, MD Anderson Cancer Center, and now from the University of Pennsylvania School of Veterinary Medicine on its absolute effectiveness on pets. Now offered for the first time in a delicious biscuit. Pets absolutely love them. It's our goal to see every pet in the world on Coriolis Versicolor with products offered by Pet Club 24/7. Science proves that a healthy immune system is the body's first defense against the smallest of ailments to the most catastrophic. Together, we can help reverse this terrible tide now plaguing our furry loved ones and give them the immune-boosting supplements that they need in mush puppies.
Visit PeteLovesPets.com and be sure to subscribe to AutoShip.
I've utilized the thing that John Hewlett has developed, this Cardio Miracle, and just so you, as a quick aside, in the gym where I go every day, the 30-somethings, and I'm in my mid-50s, they just can't keep up.
I did start probably in about January taking the Cardio Miracle. The most interesting and telling thing after being on this for a few months is really noticing a difference in the energy level that I've had and the severity of my heart problems. It's funny, you start to begin to have this sense that there's actual healing taking place inside the body.
Well, I'm one of the generation born in 1947. So on the front end of the baby boom, all I can say is if you want prolonged life, better health, more energy, better sleep, this is a great product.
Visit cardiomiracle.com and be sure to use promo code PETE at checkout and receive a 15% discount when you subscribe to AutoShip.
Live from Cincinnati, Ohio. You're listening to the Pete Santilli Show. Tune in live by visiting PeteLive.tv.
The University of Pennsylvania School of Veterinary Medicine confirms that pets with cancer live longer taking Coriolis Versicolor. This is why we believe that every dog and cat needs Coriolis Versicolor to help support and boost their immune system. Our Forest Natural brand has developed the world's first pet treat with immune-boosting Coriolis Versicolor mushroom. We call them mush puppies. Coriolis Versicolor is the most sought-after, all-natural supplement for both humans and pets to help boost the immune system. There are over 400 studies worldwide on its effectiveness in humans, including Sloan Kettering Cancer Center, MD Anderson Cancer Center, and now from the University of Pennsylvania School of Veterinary Medicine on its absolute effectiveness on pets. Now offered for the first time in a delicious biscuit. Pets absolutely love them. It's our goal to see every pet in the world on Coriolis Versicolor with products offered by Pet Club 24/7. Science proves that a healthy immune system is the body's first defense against the smallest of ailments to the most catastrophic. Together, we can help reverse this terrible tide now plaguing our furry loved ones and give them the immune-boosting supplements that they need in mush puppies.
Visit PeteLovesPets.com and be sure to subscribe to AutoShip.
I've utilized the thing that John Hewlett has developed, this Cardio Miracle, and just so you, as a quick aside, in the gym where I go every day, the 30-somethings, and I'm in my mid-50s, they just can't keep up.
I did start probably in about January taking the Cardio Miracle. The most interesting and telling thing after being on this for a few months is really noticing a difference in the energy level that I've had and the severity of my heart problems. It's funny, you start to begin to have this sense that there's actual healing taking place inside the body.
Well, I'm one of the generation born in 1947. So on the front end of the baby boom, all I can say is if you want prolonged life, better health, more energy, better sleep, this is a great product.
Visit cardiomiracle.com and be sure to use promo code PETE at checkout and receive a 15% discount when you subscribe to AutoShip.
Live from Cincinnati, Ohio. You're listening to the Pete Santilli Show. Tune in live by visiting PeteLive.tv.
All right, I'm back with Chris Gruber. All right, Chris, on this side, I love the dashboard, by the way. Treasure trove of info. We were talking about incorporating, AI, because AI is very powerful. You gather that much data, you can reverse engineer. But our government officials have the most sophisticated tools available to them. Somebody just needs to step up and take action. So where does that come from? It comes from, I hate to say it, outrage is the only thing that gets our government officials to do anything. Everyone should be outraged, but where do we point our energy? How do we get public awareness at the highest levels to look into this? And it's really a pretty quick fix, is it not?
To me, it can be a quick fix. Pete. When you think about it, right? The outrage is the fact that, think about it. We have compiled all the information that you could possibly want and more. Okay, we have a treasure trove of information that we can just hand over to whoever that person may be. It only takes one, right? It only takes one. When Ann Vandersteel came into the mix and she saw what this dashboard contains, in 2 hours she was out the door already posting things of how is it possible that between the branches of government, because we're talking about FINRA, we're talking about the SEC, that have been nothing but silent, crickets, right? No assistance whatsoever. It doesn't matter if you file a whistleblower complaint, you submit documentation to them, they want more, but still nothing has been accomplished. So then with everything else, we go to the next level. So as I said initially from the beginning, we go up and up the chain, right? Asking for assistance, for help, because the information is here, right? The data is here. The files are here. The courts are here. People say, go do the legal thing. I said, okay. We've had 20 cases through all these different federal U.S. courts, district courts, and also the bankruptcy court, and they all have failed. What do you want us to do? Do another one?
Bankruptcy court is a pretty powerful mechanism.
Yes.
Put everybody on notice. Bankruptcy court is powerful because when you ask these people to step forth and show what they've done to mitigate, the bankruptcy court doesn't mess around. They will call people to the carpet, as they say, right?
Right, and they don't mess around. But the problem you have, right? First, you have a company that's fighting, going through the bankruptcy process. Then, at the same time, you have the government, right? FINRA, right? The NASDAQ and its entities. All these financial industries are trying to circumvent the system because they do not want to disclose any of their financial data or information. Well, that got quashed a couple days ago. So now back in Nevada, they have to, right? They have to eventually let go of some of this information, which is going to lead to more ongoing effects. But it took them literally almost a year just to get that addressed through the courts in Southern District of New York, right? As well as Washington, D.C. Okay. So they're fighting tooth and nail on something that, one, hasn't traded for over 3 years, as well as we have no information whatsoever on what's going on. So we don't even know. We can't figure it out. How do you keep fighting against everything? And then again, right? So we did the legal process. We've done the Congress thing, right? We've walked the halls. We've asked the different committees, judicial, oversight, financial House Financial Services Committee. I mean, I personally went into the Veterans Affairs Committee, right? Talked to them on the 12th of September, or not September, of January with another vet. And crickets. We still have not heard nothing, right? People ask for information, give it to them.
How can the VA intervene?
Well, not for Veterans Affairs, right, or Veterans Affairs, but for veterans, right?
Right.
With anything there, veterans, I think, have a powerful voice, right?
Yes.
Because when you think about it, my whole reason of joining the military was to serve, right? I serve this country. I don't ask for this country. I serve the country. Just like now, I don't ask nothing from the community. I serve the community. I support them because there are less fortunate individuals that need our assistance than myself.
Yes.
And that's what I look for. The people that do not have the voice have a voice through me for them. I want to make sure that my small impressions or reach is heard by many. And from there, we can trickle that out. But, a lot of individuals don't get that. They don't understand it. But as a veteran and someone that supports everything that we've become to believe within our government, at this juncture, it makes me question a lot of things, right? Why should I give up? Why should I support the government in the first place? If everything and everyone that we elected to be as a representative, you don't represent me.
Yeah,
where is it?
I'm hearing quite a bit because there's so much fraud, waste, and abuse that they're pretty overwhelmed. It's difficult for us to govern. Your situation is so there is such a treasure trove of information. It's so complex. They say money laundering. They set up these shell companies. I mean, high level money laundering that. You know what they brag about, those that set up these shell corporations? They say by the time you find the fraud, it's 10 years down the road. We're off and running.
True.
And that's true. That's true. So they enjoy the benefit of complexity and time it takes to unpack this, right? Don't they?
They do. And you got to remember, because the statute of limitations are only for so long of a time period, right? Yeah. Once it's gone, right? Unless it resets. But again, the complexity of this entire situation makes it where, in layman's terms, you're not going to understand it. And everyone in the United States, because of these agreements that you have to sign, once you open an account, a bank account, you're signing an arbitration agreement. Okay. So that means that in the event something happens, right, you have to go through arbitration, which is controlled by FINRA. And ergo, now you have problems because they have their own separate entity and court for addressing these issues.
I'm sorry to be overly anxious to squeeze one in here, but no agreement or disclaimer says that if we perpetrate crimes, that we have to go into arbitration. There's criminal conduct here, right? This is different, is it not?
It is. I mean, it's already been identified.
Let me ask you this: have you gone to the FBI, or will the FBI say, "Oh, it's not our jurisdiction. The SEC oversees this"?
We have letters from the FBI, right?
What did they say?
They send you right back to the SEC.
No. I was hoping you weren't going to say that.
It's just like FINRA puts up the FAQ, right? So they write their thing, right? But then they send you to the SEC. The SEC sends you back to FINRA. So it's a ping pong game. I call this Bernie Madoff 2.0. This is the best Ponzi scheme you can ever imagine.
Wow.
With high frequency trading and the way that everyone points the finger at each other to cover each other's back, nothing gets resolved. Okay. And then when you talk about donations, right, to members of Congress and other entities, right, it is one big, it's organized crime at its best.
Look at the subprime mortgage meltdown. The banks, they'll get a slap in the hand. The SEC assesses a $100 million fine, and they stole trillions. We got to quit our day jobs. We're in the wrong business. We need to go in the business of screwing people on Wall Street.
So let me add this to you in context, okay? We know how the Bernie Madoff and the housing crisis, happened in 2008, right?
Yeah.
We know how that unfolded, okay? Imagine this, okay? This one scenario here, that's why it's not being touched, okay? You can add Bernie Madoff. You can add Silicon Valley Bank, SVB. You can add Sam Bankman-Fried or the FTX issue. And it is nothing compared to all of those put together. Okay?
Is that
because
true?
Without knowing the true accounting, and that's where the problem lies. Without understanding the true accounting of how many shares they actually sold, right? Because we're not talking not only the 165.4 million that were authorized at the time, okay? We're talking about all the counterfeits.
Hold on. All right. So let's put a point of emphasis on this. So Scott,
let me close this one part.
Yeah.
Quick.
Oh yeah.
With that number, okay. With that number, right? Without that unknown number, this potentially could be a $1 trillion problem.
You've got to be kidding me.
That is where this lies. This is what they don't want for it to unfold. Okay. How do you hide, right, a crime of this magnitude in the financial sector, the premier sector, right, of the entire world? How do you cover this if it comes to light of day?
Potentially over $1 trillion fraud, which will of course dwarf the of course FTX, right? Sam Bankman-Fried, Bernie Madoff, all of them combined. You're saying?
All of it. UBS, you can tag everything in there and it won't even be a tenth of it.
Wow. And it's going to require somebody at a high level because it's not too complex, actually. The lower level dinglings at the SEC, we know what they do. They're part of the scam. They are part of this. Listen, let me back up. You don't need to associate yourself with what I just said. The SEC is on the payroll. When you issue $100 million fine on a multi-trillion-dollar fraud, I mean, somebody's on the payroll there. That's a good deal.
You're paying fractions of a penny on most of these crimes when they're ordered to pay a fine.
Yeah.
From what they're making.
And the longer they delay, the more complex it is. You go through the bankruptcies. They also enjoy the benefit of the legal proceedings. This is currently in litigation, so on and so forth. Somebody needs to jump on this. So we're going to put together some clips here. We're going to put together a clip, and we're going to send this to who? Give us marching orders. Tell us. Who are we going to share this with?
I mean, my thing would send it to the administration itself. Bypass everyone below. Because I'm going to tell you right now, Congress has been stonewalling us, right? We got all these letters that you saw on the dashboard. Zero. Crickets. There's a few of them that advocate for us, but when you're held down, right, and you cannot get things out within your committee or your group, right? It doesn't matter if you're Republican or Democrat. This is an American problem, right? Because the financial sector holds us together in one fashion or another. Everyone is invested in this. You work, you're probably invested in it. Doesn't matter where you're at. Okay. What if I told you that you can lose all your investment within a matter of seconds because someone did something illegal, just like what we're experiencing now?
Yeah.
Okay. All of our things have been zeroed out. We still have the obligations. They have the obligations to pay this off or give us the shares. Many individuals don't have the shares yet. Okay. I bought a stock. Where is my stock? You can't provide it because you know why? You made it up. So if you can counterfeit money, right, and it's legal, why can't I do it? You can't. We're not supposed to.
Okay.
That's your problem.
All right. We're gonna. I'm telling you, we have to raise some holy cane here. All right. We have to. I mean, somebody needs. All right. Is there a finder's fee? Let's say, like sometimes attorneys. If there's an incentive for them, if they've defrauded the government, right? Have they defrauded the government? Sometimes there's a finder's fee.
The whistleblower program, right? They have a whistleblower program, and I'm sure there's other programs out there to do that. But the problem you got is, I think, the way I look at it, everyone's bought and paid to a certain degree.
Yeah.
Right. So
okay,
it takes one person.
Final
one
question.
person that has the moral and ethical, fortitude to bring this to the committee and get it out. And,
all right.
And the administration
Chris,
to affect.
Great segment. Guess what? I'm going to, excuse the expression, I know you can appreciate this and not be offended or feel like your life is in danger. I'm going to pull the trigger on a couple things. Seriously. Because Ann Vandersteel and I are like that. We sink our hooks into something. We don't back off, all right? I'm so glad she brought this to me. I'm going to do this. This must stop. Over trillions of dollars, bigger than Madoff, Sam Bankman-Fried, all that stuff. We need action by this administration, by the people that are supposed to protect us. All right, we have Flyover Conservatives coming up, ladies and gentlemen, right after this final break. Thanks, Chris. Appreciate it.
Appreciate it, Pete.
Love
Thank
the
you,
dashboard. The dashboard made me more angry than I was before we got started. Thank you. All right, bye, everybody. We'll see you tomorrow.